All right, guys, this is MobileGamerNerd, and we are back with another Raid Shadow Legends free-to-play mystery shard only run video. Today, we're going to be talking about masteries and how they work, how I use them. Actually, we're going to talk about that because I'm not giving you the best way to work this. I'm just showing you how I do it and how I've been able to get through this game with only using mystery shards and only heroes that everyone can use. So let's go in and start talking about how we get our masteries first, which is the easy part, and then we'll go into how I specifically build each hero and why we do what we do. All right, so now the easy part here, you got a couple ways you can do this. All right, so now we go into dungeons and we go into Minotaur. Now, Minotaur is the easiest fight in the game as far as dungeons go. There's only 15 stages and they're all basically just easy enough where you just need to be strong enough to go in here and run it. Now, this is the team that I use specifically. The way I work this is I have 4 heroes who are completely maxed, which would be Cleo, it would be Kale, we've got Yakarl, and we've got Spirit Host. They are maxed, all right? Now, for this video, we're going to take these guys out, and we're going to bring in the ones that I used to use because they work. So we're going to bring in Apothecary, and we are going to bring in Miss War Maiden. Now, I will put Spirit Host in the lead because we want this to go faster. If you're weaker, you can put Apothecary in the lead. You can put Kale in the lead. It doesn't really matter because that'll give you more HP. Say, boop, more HP, so you don't die as much. And Apothecary will give you more defense, so you don't die as much. So a lot of not dying as much. But I do Spirit Host just because she's fast and she gives us the extra 10% speed, which makes you go faster. She usually killing things faster, so that's nice. Now, this is the hero Marquis that we are going to be leveling up. So basically, you just start this, and this is how I personally will build my masteries up. And the reason I do it this way is because it's quicker for me to max one hero at a time. And you can do this if you want to be more efficient. Some things you could do here. You could bring in a bunch of heroes that all need masteries, and you could just run this. Now, what I found with that is that it's really, really time consuming because you're waiting for 5 heroes to get done. Some of these, like the way I do it specifically, it can be done within a day or two. You can be done with your masteries. All right, and that's because we don't have all the energy in the world. We're not spending tons of money on this game. Obviously, we don't have any. We don't spend any money on this game. So there you go. But we just auto run it for one day usually, and it'll get me up to maybe the last 4 masteries. And then the second day, I'll auto run it again and usually be able to finish the masteries out. Now, if I'm being real slow and I have other things going on in the game, it could take 2-3 days, possibly even up to 4 days to finish one hero. So yeah, this can be time consuming and it's rough. So what I do is I do one hero at a time. This way I know that Marquis right here is going to be the one that gets the masteries. So everyone else here is done, and she is definitely going to get her masteries. All right. So every single time we win, masteries go to her. All right. That's why we do it the way that's the way I do it. But if you want to be more efficient, you can bring in heroes that are all level 50. If they're good enough to beat it, you might have a slower fight, or you could bring in one really strong hero that is really good and 4 other heroes, so that way you can blast through it in like 3 or 4 seconds. I've seen it happen. You can basically kind of one shot the boss if you have like really good heroes, but that's more advanced type stuff. This right here is the easiest way for me that I found. Usually, what I'll do is I'll get them a couple masteries, and use now recently what I do is once I get them to 6-star, I can start farming it. I'll get them to like level 30 or 40, and then just start farming this, just so at least I don't waste the EXP that I'm getting here. But yeah, if you want to run this, the problem is you can't use this to level food because if you put food in here, they're going to get scrolls also. So there's a couple things to know about this. You don't want to be bringing like dumb food stuff in here. You can only bring heroes in here that you're trying to get masteries for. So yeah, in the beginning, you might want to consider bringing in 3 or 4 heroes that all need masteries. That's fine, but just know it's going to be a while. It's going to take time, and it could take you. I mean, figure if it takes you, even if you're good, like reasonably good, and do it in 2 days. Figure you have 4 heroes in here. It's going to take you 8 days to do this whole thing completed. All right, and especially if you're going to be rotating in and out heroes for masteries, yeah, it's going to be tough. So the reason I do it this way is because now I know that she's going to get all of her masteries, and that's it. I don't care if it wastes EXP. The EXP in here is terrible. It does not matter to me. I don't care. Like if I bring in a bunch of heroes, I can literally bring them into campaign and do it 15 times faster than getting the EXP here. But if you want to be efficient, yes, you would bring in 1 or 2 heroes, or bring in some heroes that you're trying to level. Maybe even have some heroes that, I mean, you might even have a hero that you have already maxed their masteries and they just haven't finished leveling yet. So there you go. I mean, that does happen. It's not often, but it does happen. So there's things you can do to make this a little more efficient and get more masteries at once. I don't personally, this is a personal opinion, I don't feel like it's worth the time. to bring that many heroes in here, except when you're just starting. But yeah, I actually purchased masteries for Kale. I purchased masteries for Spirit Host, I believe War Maiden, and and for Apothecary. Actually, I bought for all of them. So I didn't need all this. And then once I got not Vastery, Valerie, we put her in and we farmed up her stuff. I don't remember if I bought hers, but we farmed up the next person. So once I had all four of these guys mastered, then I just started farming because it's way easier to farm this when you have all of your masters done. That's going to be whatever controversial, whatever you want to call it. I don't care. Some people are like, "Oh no, you don't spend your first 800 on Kale." It doesn't matter. Like it literally doesn't matter. If you're going to farm it, go ahead. I don't care. Like it's not an argument. It's literally this is just how I do it. And if you want to do it from the beginning and farm, it's going to be a lot harder for you to get that first mastery done. I would 100% say buy your Kale with 800 gems at least. That is the minimum I would say is worth doing because you'll have a max Kale who can do tons of damage and you're going to get through this a lot quicker. He's the damage dealer. So let's get out of here. Enough whining about Minotaur, right? So let's go in here and look at the actual heroes and see why I do the things that I do. Now, here's the thing. When people go looking online, I don't want dungeons. When people go looking online for like guides on how to build heroes and how to do masteries and all this other stuff, masteries are essentially the same as gear. All right. There's no one way. There's going to be consistent things. There's going to be things that are pretty much all around for every hero, but there's going to be a lot of change depending on how you're going to use your hero and what you're going to do with their masteries. So let's just take a look at a random hero. So this is Cleo. All right. These are her masteries. So these are the ones that we have chosen. All right. Now, most of your offensive heroes, most of them, not all of them, all right, are going to get the crit rate and the crit damage. This is because we want crit rate and crit damage. We want them to do more damage, so it makes sense. All right. This one is increasing damage inflicted by 5% when attacking with full HP. This is a really good skill for anyone who's going to be attacking with full HP, obviously. So if you have a team that's maybe shielded or constantly healing or anything like that, that's always at max HP when you're fighting something, this is a really good mastery to have because you're going to do more damage. It's great for a campaign farmer because campaign farmers are supposed to go first and they usually have full HP because they don't get hit. They just kill everything. So yeah, once again, 5% attack, all right? Right here, we've got increased damage to inflicted to targets under shield debuffs. I mean, shield buffs. Sorry, there's no shield debuff. Imagine they unshield you. That'd be pretty funny. But yeah, basically, this one is kind of whatever. I don't. It's more of an arena thing, I guess. I mean, I don't really have any area that I can think of where a shield is super difficult to warrant this one. There's a few like one-off kinds of things, and maybe some enemies that have shields, and maybe there's one level in Doom Tower that's annoying. But other than that, I don't really think there's anything. You would probably be better just stripping them of the shield than you would have actually trying to do more damage to them under the shield. And once the shield's gone, then this basically becomes null and void. So, I mean, you could use it in the potion keep, but is it worth it? I mean, you can kill that thing. You can kill the potion keep hero pretty easily without that. Here we go. Increased damage inflicted by 5% when attacking with 50% HP or less. Once again, these are all kind of situational, which is why most people kind of shy away from them. Your average person is going to end up going down. Basically, here, let me find a. Actually, this is pretty much a basic build. This is a basic attacker build. We've got increased damage inflicted to targets with less than 40% HP. Like I said, all situational stuff, but it works. Healing up when they have 50% HP or less. That's always good. Keeps you from dying right at that last second. That does happen often. We've got increased damage inflicted by 6% when attacking targets with higher max HP. This becomes a lot more relevant the further along in the game you get because obviously everything's going to have more HP than you. Probably 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 20 times more HP than you. So, yeah, that's a good one. Increased damage inflicted by 5% for each dead ally. This is a great campaign farmer attack skill. Why? Because everyone usually dies. You're bringing in like uncommons into a brutal campaign. More than likely, they're going to get one shot unless your hero is super fast. Usually, if you have a really good campaign farmer, this probably won't even come into effect. But for me, it does come into effect often. So you're okay for the last round of farming. My campaign farmer is somewhat unreliable but reliable. So there you go. You definitely want that for your campaign farmer. You also have this, which has 30% chance of decreasing the cooldown of a random skill by 1 turn if the damage inflicted by a skill exceeds 30% of the target's max HP. Well, for a campaign farmer, this is good because if you accidentally don't kill something and everybody takes a huge hit, then yeah, you're going to get another chance to to reset your cooldown. So for a campaign farmer, it's a great thing to use. But regular heroes here, methodical, increases damage inflicted by this champion's default skill by 2% each time. This is great for things like clan boss. This is great for pretty much anything that's a longer fight, obviously, because you want, if you're going to be using your A1 a lot, yeah, it's great for a campaign farmer. Does this really matter? You're probably going to be using an AoE, and it's probably not going to be your default skill, but it's still worth having just in case, you get that last hit. Yeah, it'll do more damage. So who cares, right? It doesn't hurt to have. It's probably better than the rest of the stuff in here. This increases damage inflicted by 6% in the arena and 3% in all other locations. This one's a little tricky because you might think that that's awesome. All right, but it says for each enemy killed by this champion in battle, and it stacks across each round. So yeah, it basically is great for a campaign farmer. Obviously, it's great for a lot of heroes. Actually, it's great for your attackers. Sometimes if you have like a hero, say like who do I have? I'm gonna say Spy Master might be a good example. Not super duper strong. Probably never gonna really kill anything in higher end content. So yeah, this could probably be a bad skill, but it doesn't hurt. So a lot of people just get it anyway. It's not a great skill, but it's not terrible. All right, now this is where things get a little dicey, and people don't really know where to go with this on their attackers. Now, War Master has a 60% chance of inflicting bonus damage when attacking. All right, bonus damage is equal to 10% of the target's champion max HP or 4% of the target's max HP when attacking bosses. The bonus damage can only occur once per skill, and it does not count as an extra hit. There's a lot to read there. Now, this skill is basically good for like clan boss. It's good for bosses who have a ton of HP, possibly. Uh, that's basically it. Bosses and clan boss is mostly where War Master is going to be like your best friend. At least from my experience, that's what I've noticed. If you are having trouble with certain areas, I feel like later in the game, you're going to start to see War Master fall off, and Helm Smasher is going to start becoming a lot more important. Why is that? It's because ignoring 25% of the target's defense becomes way more important than that extra damage, because the extra damage might not even hit, first of all. And if you're doing 2,000 damage to an enemy basically because their defense is super high, ignoring their defense is much better. I figure if somebody has 10,000, what is it, 10,000 defense, and you drop them down, your attack does 10,000, let's just say, right? If you hit them once, you're going to do no damage, all right? Because their defense is the same as your attack, okay? This is just a vague idea of how this works. No one has 10,000 attack. Well, I'm sure somebody does. But if you have a skill that does the War Master, say they have 10,000 HP, War Master is going to do, here, just so we can show you how that works. All right, so bonus damage is equal to 10% of the target's max HP. If they have 10,000 HP, you're going to do 1,000 damage, correct? All right, now, if you have a 25% reduced ignore defense, it means their defense drops to 7,500, and now your 10,000 attack hits for 2,500. So on a 10,000 across the board scale, you're going to do 2,500 damage with a hero that breaks through the defense, and you're going to do 1,000 extra damage against the hit. You see what I mean? So it's a lot of math. This game's all about math. All right. So that kind of thing, you really have to gauge it against how defensive the enemy is you're fighting. If you're fighting a Death Knight, Helm Smasher is probably your best bet because the guy's a jerk and has tons of defense. If you're fighting Syl and all them in the arena, this is mainly an arena skill and late game skill. I never really use this early on. You can use it early on; it's fine. It's not like it hurts to do it on certain nukers and in the arena. But I didn't really use this until later in the game because War Master just seemed to be so much better. But just know that they're both good, and you really need to just decide in which situation is good. Now, I put her in Helm Smasher because she's more of my main attacker right now. She has the highest attack on my entire team, and she is just insane. So I use her for a lot of the high-end dungeons. So breaking through those defenses is more important. All right, so now accuracy is a normal build for most heroes. All right. Let's look at her skills real quick so you can see why we're doing what we're doing. Skills. All right, so now she has a weaken on her A1, has a 30% chance of placing a 25% weaken debuff for 2 turns. So she does weaken. I don't need to go too crazy into this. She has a veil, all right? We're not going to read the whole skill. This isn't a champion spotlight. She places an increased crit rate and crit damage buff, and then does a block active skills under targets with Hex. Now, that's actually good. All right, so this is all accuracy-based stuff. And then she has an increased accuracy, and she also has a fear that she can put up. So there you go, more stuff. And then she has a passive to counterattack. So with her, we want attack and we want accuracy. Those are the things that we need on this hero because those are the things that make her work. So basically, what we did was we put her in all attack because we want her to be offensive. All right, offense comes before almost anything else on any attack hero. Once again, it can be different. And then support, we went down the accuracy tree. So we have accuracy here. This is going to be basically how almost every single one of your heroes who have debuffs is going to look. This is literally exactly how they're going to look late game. All right. So, except for this is going to switch back and forth. Almost every single one without fail. The only ones that are going to change are your campaign farmers and possibly a few other heroes. So you've got your accuracy here. You've got more accuracy when the champion has no skills on cooldown, which means that first hit they can get defense down or whatever it is you want to get because everything is off cooldown. Increase accuracy for 4 by every enemy alive. Great for something like a spider where there's 10 enemies. You get tons of it. Has a 5% chance of decreasing a cooldown. I usually put this on almost every one of my heroes. It's not good if you're trying to speed tune a clan boss team, obviously, because this can screw up your tuning by accidentally doing a 5% cooldown. I do it because I don't speed tune my clan boss team. I'm not that interested in it. I just want to do more damage and just mess around with it. I'm sure my team could probably one key it if I actually speed tune the damn thing, but I don't. I don't have time for that. I don't really care about it too much. I speed tune other things, but I'm very lazy with the clan boss. All right, just know that. Here we go. Increases the chances of placing any debuff. So this is always good. Another 5% to place your debuff is not bad. Even if your skill is 25%, it means that you have another 5%. Don't think it's bad just because you have a low percent chance of something landing. Now, that's a basic build. Now, if we look at everybody, let's go through. See, everybody here has basically the same stuff, masteries. Now, her skills are a little weird, right? She has a leech, which is why we did accuracy. It's not super necessary. I mean, you could just ignore that whole leech thing, but it is helpful sometimes. So that's why I decided to do it. She's also one of my arena heroes, which is why she's in here. And we did go down a different route with her. All right. We increased damage inflicted by 8% for the first hit on each enemy. Nukers are a little bit different. All right. This one's mainly for arena. This isn't for, I don't use Cleo in the arena that much. I use her in tag team, but I don't I'm not like, oh, she's my arena hero. She's just in there. That's it. She's just happened to find her way into my team. So this is great for an arena hero because obviously the first hit you're going to kind of kill something, so that's nice. Then you've got increased damage inflicted targets with stun, sleep, fear, true fear, freeze, petrification, all these things. So yeah, that's good if you have somebody in there who can sleep. I think this is why a lot of people use Kymar. They put everyone to sleep, basically raise their attack. Well, they'll drop defense, put them to sleep, raise attack, and then smack them with an attack like this. And you're going to do 12% plus the 8, so that's another 20% damage in the arena. So yeah, that's obviously why. So a nuker build is a lot different, all right? And these can change. This one is increased speed for each enemy killed by this champion. And that depends if you are planning on killing like 3 heroes. And let's say you're fighting Death Knight every single fight. Like, let's say we live in a world where only Death Knight is in every single fight. Note the sarcasm. Then yeah, if you're planning, if there's a Death Knight and you kill all 3 enemies except for Death Knight, and then this speeds you up, then yeah, it's worth it. Do you need it on every hero? I mean, it just depends on what you're trying to do and what you're trying to accomplish in your fight. And then you've got that we've talked about, and then this one, that's the cooldown one. So yeah, we don't really need all that. So this is a little more, say she can break through shields too in the arena. So this is more of an arena type build. That's why I did it this way, because I only use Yannicka mainly in the arena. And defense is good because everyone's going to have high defense heroes. You want to break through all that defense and do more damage. And then once again, she's down the accuracy for the leech. If you're going to use her in arena, you could just go down the defensive tree and build her in here if you were going to use her solely for that. But I actually use her for other things, and that leech I thought was going to be great. So to be honest, like in this hero specifically, I may consider just putting her back into defense and getting the counters and all that other stuff because that leech doesn't really do much for me. It is nice to have, but I don't think it's necessary for her. So there you go. That's how we build nukers in the arena. Same thing here. Gerda is actually someone, we're looking at the higher end ones because they usually have more skills. So they're a little more complex. Her skills are mostly all debuff spreading and accuracy based things. Weakens, she's got poisons, and she removes debuffs. So what we did with her is, now this is basically your normal support type thing. You want to get as much accuracy as possible. As you can see, we took a little bit more offense off. The reason we use more master on her specifically is because we're going to be using her in long fights and boss fights. Now, she does poisons. Her main damage is poison, so most of her attack isn't going to come from straight damage. So War Master's better because every time she attacks, she has a chance of taking that HP chunk off of the enemy, which is why we did War Master. And then we went mostly down here through all the accuracy stuff that you saw before, but we added in some things. We added in decreased target's turn meter. Now, this can be a dangerous skill. Not dangerous, just it can be annoying. So when you hit somebody for the first time, it decreases turn meter. This could be a problem, all right? So if you hit Bommel, you're going to add a bomb to the fight immediately. So be careful when you put this on heroes. The other thing you can do, I don't really use it for Bommel, which is why I don't care. But Bommel's the biggest reason that I wouldn't use this skill. And you've got times where, say, there's an enemy that does unkillable. Turn meter reduction can be tough. Luckily, this is only the first hit, so it doesn't really affect it too much. But if you have heroes that have turn meter reduction, you may get yourself in a cycle where just everything is being turn meter reduced, and you just can't kill something because it's unkillable unless you have somebody you can strip at the time. So just be careful with it. It's not like, oh my god, this is going to kill you. It's just, it might make it so you put your game on auto and accidentally not bring in the right hero for that fight and have it run for 30 minutes while you're away, and there you go. You didn't do anything. So just be careful with these kinds of things. But Bommel's the biggest reason why this would be bad. If everybody has this on the skill, you get 5 bombs right off the bat and you're going to explode. So don't do that. Nobody wants to I don't want to explode. If you've seen Serenity. Same thing. All right. And then we've got increases the chance of placing any debuff from skills by 5%. So basically you're gonna see this kind of build almost exclusively to most of my damage dealers. So let's go through a couple that are weird masteries. So Mithrala is actually, we want her to be more of a hexer, poisoner, and that's really it. I mean, that's what we want from her. We want her to be fast, and we want her to kind of do her poisons and hexes. So she has poisons, she has hexes, she increases attack. We've got removing debuffs, and she does the petrification, 50% chance. So yeah, we want her to have accuracy. The other reason we want her to have accuracy is because she has this really cool passive, fun enough, right here, which actually increases the champion's resistance by the amount of her accuracy. So this one requires a little bit different strategy. We went down the support tree and did a whole bunch of crazy stuff. We did increase the amount of healing and value of shield buffs placed by this champion. She does place shields, so that's good. And the good news is she always uses it when somebody's under a debuff. So it removes the debuffs and gives her a shield. So there you go. It's like kind of a mixed match because she gets, for what, sleep, fear, true fear. If she removes one of those things, then there you go. You get some extra shield. And then we went down this way with the placing a debuff by 5% chance. And then we got Eagle Eye for accuracy. The reason we did this is because now she has a ton of accuracy, and it's going to raise her resistance. So that's always good. And then we went down defense. Now, this is a basic clan boss build. This is basically how I build all of my clan boss heroes. You've got defense. You've got damage decreased by received from AoE attacks. That's obviously good in the clan boss. 50% chance to remove one random debuff. That's always good for that because she stuns, so you get a chance to remove it. We have a chance to, not a chance. You actually reduce damage from an enemy. So there you go. Bosses are one specific enemy, so you can reduce the damage. Chance to counterattack when they lose a lot of HP. That's good for the high end fights. Has 20% chance to counterattack an enemy when they apply stun, sleep, fear, all that crap. So basically, you have a chance to counterattack a bunch of times. There's some other stuff in here, but honestly, I don't think I have any hero that uses any of this stuff. Resistance +5 is good for somebody, I guess, that you're only trying to have resist on. If you say, like, you want to build a Death Knight that doesn't get hit, or if you're a jerk and build Paragon in the arena, yeah, then you'll take the resist. Here we go. Increased chances of placing stun. Like, yeah, I mean, this is worthless to me as far. I mean, by 5%. Unless you have a really bad, it's not totally worthless if that's the only thing you need them for. I wouldn't waste a mastery on it. Let's put it that way. Decrease the damage all allies receive by 5%, and this champion will receive that damage instead. Yeah, if you build a really good tank. I've noticed that anyone who's really good tanking, at least for me, because I haven't built a like massive tank yet, just because I never needed it so much, then yeah, that would be good. But I mean, I can't. Usually they die. Is what I was gonna say. They usually die if you soak all the damage, especially at higher end areas. But that's good if you have a reviver. So it just depends on what you're trying to do with it. And then defense +200. There you go. More stuff that's not bad, but I don't think any one of my heroes on this account has these on their masteries. But that's just me. Remember, you can change these things up. So there you go. That's like the basic idea of what we're doing. Now, I hope that kind of explains why we do things. Now, let's look at everybody one by one. Say War Master, basically, and accuracy. She's more She's more of a. I use her mostly as a arena speed lead. So yeah, we did more speed, kind of debuffing, staying alive kind of stuff. Drex, we did more of a giant slayer because it hits 3 times. This one actually here. This is also more of a clan bossy type build. Uh, Giant Slayer is great for people who have one 3-hitter on their A1 and has a 30% chance of inflicting bonus damage when attacking, and you can do it on each hit. So that's the good news. So anytime you have a 3-hitter on your A1, you're going to want to go for Giant Slayer if you're an attack-based hero. If not, then it doesn't matter. Like Apothecary, I think even Apothecary has this. So yeah, we want to get that. Now, when you're choosing your masteries, the thing to note here is that you really need to consider what you're going to be using those heroes for. I'm just going to kind of scroll through while I talk. You're basically trying to decide what this hero is being used for and where you specifically are going to use it. And when people, like so I said, when people ask me things like, what gear should you use on this hero? What mastery should you use on this hero? It's going to change for every account. All right. And most of these heroes are going to basically run about the same. All right. You're going to, in general, have them be pretty close to what I'm doing here. Most of your heroes are going to run in this range. I think Archmage is a good place to stop because he is a hero that you could go either way with. So his skill set is basically he attacks one enemy and fills the champion's turn meter and fills the turn meter by 20% if it's critical. He has a stun. This is a great hit. All right, it stuns everybody. You hit one hero, and then it stuns everybody else around that hero. So it's great for basically targeting someone for an attack and then stunning everyone. He's got increased speed and crit damage, and he has a passive that he's immune to turn meter manipulation. So you could build him. Now I've heard that this guy hits very hard. All right, that he can be a very good damage dealer. However, we don't care about that. Literally, this is the opposite of what you would do if you were trying to build him as an attacker. We built him defensively, and we want him to only function as a increased crit rate or crit damage, whatever it was he does in speed, and stunning. We want him to be able to stun, and that's it. I want him to nullify waves. All right. So we went down the support tree, and we also got has a 30% chance to extend duration of any buff any buff because he can extend his crit damage, which is good. And then we got accuracy so he can land a stun. And then we did a little bit more defensive stuff here. He decreases the damage received by 10% if this champion has a stun. So basically if he gets hit with something, it'll decrease damage he takes. That way he doesn't get killed. And then we also took a leech because he stuns. So anytime he stuns, he can leech, which is kind of nice. So he can actually add leeches, and then this is the 50% chance to counterattack. So we did a little bit of a different thing, and then we also has a 30% chance to increase turn meter by 10% when a buff cast by him is removed or expired, which basically means every time his buffs expire, he's going to increase his turn meter. So basically, he goes really fast, he stuns the crap out of everybody, and then goes fast again. And that's what we wanted from him. That's the only reason we use him, actually. It's funny enough, as I use him for crowd control. Now, if you want him to be an attack hero and you don't care about the stun so much, I would probably just build him in that basic offense and support. Defense wouldn't necessarily be as needed, I would say, unless you can't keep him alive. But yeah, support just so he can land the stuns, and then offense to do more damage. So that would be an option. I only want him to stay alive and do his thing. That's it. I don't want him to do any attack. I don't care about attack with him. But yes, I've heard you can build him in attack, and he is really strong. So that is an option too. But I use him for stopping waves. That's what I use him for. I don't use him for anything else. All right, get out of here. Because his skill set isn't great for like bosses. There's not a lot that a boss he'd be good for in a boss, except for like a spider, because he can stun all the spiders. Which, I mean, there's plenty of other heroes that can do that. So yeah, I wouldn't really use him in bosses very much, unless you just need someone who can stay alive, and stun things. That's fine. But that's why we use him for wave clearing. So he's really good for that. Um, Lord Legionary, awesome. So we've got basically the whole point here is that every hero is going to be different based on how you use them. Same thing with this. All right. He has a provoke, he has a shield, and a counter. Not a counter. Yeah, he has a counter attack. And most people would probably build him with accuracy because he has a provoke and they use his provoke for Hydra and things like that. I don't do that. I have him in defense and defensive type stuff. We've got him in the turn meter. It increases his turn meter when an ally's attack with a critical hit, which is kind of good. And we put him down into offense. I would probably eventually maybe move him into Helm Smasher, but I don't think it really matters right now. I think War Master works pretty well with him, but we don't care about accuracy on him. You know why? Because we don't care about his provoke. So I don't use it. I don't use it at all. Period. No provokes do I use with him. Sometimes in a faction wars, maybe it would come in handy, but otherwise, I don't use it. I use him for Scarab King. If I ever pull him out of the Scarab King fight, then yeah, I would switch him into support. So, but since I only use him for Scarab King, and I literally just have him kill the boss by himself, this is what he needs. He needs defense. He needs to be able to not take debuffs, and he needs to be able to counterattack, and he needs to do damage. That's it. I don't care about provoke. He's not provoking the Scarab King. You know what I mean? We don't care about that. He has a continuous heal. We want him to stay alive. That's all I care about. So yeah, we didn't do support. So the main thing I want you guys to take away from this is that when you're building your heroes, there's a few things you need to consider. All right. And one is what you're using them for. All right. What their skills are, and what you're trying to do with this hero. Every hero is going to be different. Support heroes are going to be different. Say, no, masteries. Like someone like Valerie, we go down to War Master just because we want to do something. Helm Smasher is not going to help when you're only doing 10 damage. So we do this War Master so she can get a little bit more damage in, which is nice. And we went down the other side of the tree to get healing because this has all healing stuff. See, HP increases the value of heals and shields. All this is healing and shielding, which is why we put it on her, because she has heals and shields. So we want her to do that. So this is the route you would go for a healer, unless they have something like an attack down or something. And maybe you would consider going this way. I don't feel like there's ever going to be a super wrong way as long as you're building a hero to what you're using them for. So don't think that you're going to go online and see, like, say, you're not going to go in and be like, oh, that's headsman. That's how I should build them. That's not 100% true. All right. You could just mimic, my masteries. That's fine. If you want to do that or mimic someone else's masteries online, you can do that. And I used to do that a lot. I haven't looked at masteries on a hero, like to research it, in a long time now. Probably about 6 months probably about 6 months to 8 months, maybe even a year, that I've actually looked at someone else's account to see what their masteries are. I basically know what I need a hero for at this point because I've been doing it for so long. We built like 70 plus heroes. So I kind of already have an idea of what I'm doing. I don't really look, I think the last one I looked at was Mithrala. And that was because I just didn't really understand what people used her for and how she worked. Like I got the idea of it, but I was like, she had a lot going on, so I didn't know what the best route to do for her was. So I was like, I looked up a bunch of different ones, and to be honest, it was all over the place. So it honestly confused me more. But that's the last one that's the only one that I've actually looked at. I think I can't even think of the last one I looked at before that. So everybody else in here, I basically built from the ground up. And because I just read their skills, like, here we go. Let's look at Myrmidon. I don't even care what his things are. So here we go. He's got a provoke. So you want him to hit that provoke. That's probably important for him. He's got a AoE attack down. So you want him to have accuracy. So he's already an accuracy beast. And then you've got an ally protection, and he places continuous heal buff. So you want him to be fast, at least do some damage, and you want him to stay alive and attack down. So that's what you're looking for. We're looking for accuracy, defense, because obviously all of his skills defense. Yeah, all his skills are based on defense. So we want defense, we want accuracy, and then possibly War Master. We'll see how it goes. So let's go in here, masteries. So we went down the attack route. You're going to see that even defense heroes could do crazy damage with an offensive tree. So don't think that offense is only for defensive. I mean, for attacking heroes. Offense works just as well on defense heroes. All right. It still increases their crit rate. It still increases their crit damage. It still increases the damage that they're doing. All right. So it doesn't matter if they're defensive. Remember that. Very important. You could put them in defense. Like your first thing would be like, oh, let's put them in defense. Eh, You could do defense if you wanted to. I found that his priority was the attack down and the provoke. That's his priority. You can build defense in his gear. So the 75 defense is not super important. And I mean, you could put him in resist if you're worried about it, but yeah, we went for his accuracy tree instead, and then did this, and then we basically put him in a bunch of defense gear, and that basically makes him so he can do a ton of damage, which he actually does insanely good damage for, surprisingly enough. Him and what is his name, Risk Arm, are crazy in clan boss, not clan boss, in faction wars. So yeah, we've got him almost at 4,000 defense. Is that 75 defense going to help? Yeah, it's going to help, but it's not the end of the world. I could easily just do a glyph and get more defense, so we're not too worried about that. All right. But yeah, that's what we were trying to do. We wanted to get him to do all those things, so that's why we went down the route we went. Now, someone like, let's see if we find a weird one. You'll see that most of my nukers are basically the same unless I use them in arena. Basically, anyone I use in arena more, you're going to see more green, and anyone I use in PvE, you're going to see more blue. That's essentially just how it works. Say almost everybody here is going to be a mix mash. Some of them more defense. Like he's a weird one, just because we built him to stay alive, and he has HP. Say he's going to be off the grid. This is one I built specifically by myself. I didn't take this build from anyone. I went straight down to the HP mark here for 3,000 HP because I wanted him to have the most HP possible to make him stay alive for Bommel. So yeah, he's this very weird specific build. We added some things in here. He decreases the damage received by the champion by 8% when he's hit with a critical hit. Yeah, we want him to not take as much damage. We want him to stay alive. So yeah, we did a weird build on him, and he has a speed up when everyone's dead because he can revive heroes when he dies. So keeping him fast is kind of nice. He's usually the last one. It's and funny. He's usually the first one and the last one to die because he'll die. He'll die first because he'll get hit with all the AOE's. But then he'll revive someone and you bring him back, and then he's the last one to die. So let's get out of here. Close this. All right. So yeah, what I want you guys to really take from this video is that every hero is going to be a little bit different, and you just need to read is really what it is. It comes down to reading skills, making sure that you are deciding what that hero is going to be used for, and you're going to choose the right masteries for what that person is doing. All right. There's no reason to. In the beginning, I would say yes. Look at guides, check out some other people's builds, but don't think that what they're doing is going to be exactly what you do. You might have Lydia, and Lydia might be doing something that's amazing, and Lydia paired with, just as an example, I'm not giving you a good combo here, but Lydia paired with Crimson Slayer might give you a different effect, and you might need something different. So, like her skills, she has a sleep, and she has a turn meter reduction, and she has a heal reduction. You might find a hero that does all these things, and then you don't need those things for the fight that you use her in specifically. So you could conceivably just take all of her accuracy off and put everything into attack and change her up completely because you don't care if she lands a 50% heal reduction. You know what I mean? So things are going to morph, things are going to change. I believe I've only changed maybe 2 heroes since the beginning of the game, like changed their masteries 100%. Actually 2 or 3, I think. Everyone else has basically stayed the same because I just read the skills and I knew that this is what I was going to use them for, what I want from them. A lot of times you're just going to see someone who has a skill that you're like, oh, that's the one I want. You know what I mean? Like you're going to see like here, let's say like Vale. He does increase speed, so we know we want him to be fast. We know we want him to be strong. That's it. That's all I thought about with him, and we want him to stay alive. So we put him in defensive stuff. He is a defense hero though, so we gave him that to give him a little bit extra damage, and that's it. That's just kind of how he worked. I mean, there's a lot of heroes in here that you could easily change and switch around. I don't know if there's anyone I missed here that you were like super interested in seeing their masteries for. I'm just gonna go quickly through some most of these, as you can see that they all have masteries. Yeah, it takes a while, right? Look at that, 70 heroes with all their masteries. That's all maxed, and they're all rares, right? What a waste! You use garbage heroes. Sorry, I like to talk smack about myself. So, really, the only thing I want you guys to take away from this is make sure that you are building your heroes and getting masteries because this is going to change your account. If you are half-assed, if your whole account is a bunch of heroes with like half masteries, just know that your account's hurting. All right, it's going to change the game by getting down to that last skill. This last skill, War Master and Helm Smasher, change everything for your hero, especially the skills that you're going to progress on the way down here. It's going to be a lot. All right, so make sure you get those masteries, even if it's farming or buying. Whatever it is you do, just do it and make sure you have a great hero. Here, we'll put, I was like, let's leave Valerie on here. We'll leave Valerie on the screen because she's totes adorbs. Yeah, and just choose. If you ever have a question, make sure you just ask. Like ask online. I'm sure all the content creators out there will, give you an answer. I answer almost all of my questions at this point because it's easy for me. It's easier when you have only like almost 2,000 subscribers that you're just like you can answer every question. Like obviously, if they have 200,000, it's a lot harder to answer 5 questions that come in every 10 seconds. So, but I do answer them right now, so that's good. And if I don't, I know there are people that watch these videos that do answer them. So feel free to leave a comment. It's always good if you have something to add, or if you just have a comment saying what you could do better. Remember, this is not an exact science. You can change things up, and you can do whatever you like and make yourself happy. So choose wisely, my friend. And if someone's not working, just reset them. It's 150 gems, which sounds like a lot in early game, but it's actually not. It's 150 gems is, I mean, you can't do it for like all my heroes, but yeah, if I had one hero who was just a one-off who wasn't doing good, yeah, I have no problem resetting it. But Like I said, I only did 3 of them so far. And as always, like, share, subscribe. This is a great way to make my channel grow and to make you get more content. So it's a win-win conversation we're having right now, and you get to see more of Valerie. Valerie. Yeah. Um, yeah, and that's it. So this is all of my masteries, how I build them, what I do, how I look at it, and what I try to do. This is Mobile Gamer Nerd, and you guys take care.